Good day, I'm Andri, and I do welcome you warmly to my essential philosophy readings. Today, we shall discuss Hindu philosophies, the antiquity of Indian philosophy, and its prominent role, its scholars, forms, conceptions, etc. We all know that the priority of India is clearer in philosophy than in any other science. Though here too origins are veiled and every conclusion is an hypothesis. Some Upanishads are older than any extant form of Greek philosophy, which we know, and Pythagoras, Parmenides, and Plato seem to have been greatly influenced by Indian metaphysics. But the speculations of pre-Socratics, such as was Thales, Anaximander, Anaximenes, Heraclitus, Anaxagoras, and Empedocles, not only antedate the secular philosophy of the Hindu people, but somehow bear a specific skeptical and physical stamp suggesting any other origin than India. Yet, there are many scholars who believe that we are constrained to see in this cradle of the human race the native land of the highest and the most sublime philosophy. It is more probable that no one of the civilizations known to us was the originator of any of the elements of the civilization. But look at this now. No matter on that fact, nowhere else has the lust for philosophy and this kind of passion for philosophy been so strong as in India. It is with the Hindu people not an ornament or some kind of reproduction or recreation or reinterpretation, but a major interest and practice of life itself. Many philosophers, thinkers, and sages receive in India the honor bestowed in the West upon men of wealth or action. And what other nation has ever thought of celebrating festivals with so gladiatorial debates between the leaders of rival philosophical schools? We read in the Upanishads how the kings were the part of religious feasts and this kind of vivid and very, very powerful philosophical disputations. It was the usual course for a philosophical teacher in India to speak, to discuss, to dialogize rather than to write. Instead of attacking his opponents through the safe medium of print, he was expected to meet them in living debate and to visit other schools in order to submit himself to controversy and questioning. As we know, leading philosophers, such as Shankara was, spent much of his time in that kind of intellectual journeys. For example, in a Rajput painting, we can see a typical Indian school of philosophy, as in any other painting. The teacher sits on a mat under a tree and his students and pupils squat on the grass before him. The atmosphere is half meditative, very tranquil. Such scenes were to be witnessed everywhere. For teachers of philosophy were as numerous in India as merchants in Babylonia. Now you can imagine how many teachers of philosophy are there. No other country has ever had so many schools of thought. Even in one of Buddha's dialogues, we learn that there were 62 distinct theories of the soul among the philosophers of his time. 62 distinct theories. This philosophical nation par excellence has more Sanskrit words for philosophical and religious thought than are found in Greek, Latin, and German combined. Since Indian thought was transmitted rather by oral tradition than by writing, the oldest form in which the theories of the different schools have come down to us is that of sutras, aphoristic threads which teacher or student jotted down, not as a means of explaining his thought to another, but as an aid to his own memory, as a support to his own memory. We know that all systems of Indian philosophy are arranged by Hindu people in two basic categories. We can differentiate Astika systems and Nastika systems. Astika systems, they affirm, and Nastika, they deny, they negate. Now, we have already said some basic stuff on Hindu philosophies. And now, what about these Nastika systems? These Nastika systems were chiefly those of the Charvakas, the Buddhists, and Jains. But these systems were called Nastika, heterodox, and nihilist, not because they questioned or doubted or denied the existence of God, which in their nature and perspectives they did, but because they questioned, denied, or ignored even the authority of the Vedas. Many of the Astika systems also doubted or denied God. They were nevertheless called orthodox because they accepted the infallibility of the scriptures of the Vedas and the institution of caste. Since a wide latitude was allowed in interpreting the holy books, and clever dialecticians could find in the Vedas any doctrine which they sought, the only practical requirement for intellectual respectability was the recognition of caste. This being the real government of India, rejection of it was treason, and acceptance of it covered a multitude of sins. Ad effectum, therefore, the philosophers of India enjoyed far more liberty, can you imagine, than their scholastic analogues in Europe, though less, perhaps, than the thinkers of Christendom under the enlightened popes of the Renaissance. Hey, this is very interesting and essential. Of the orthodox systems of demonstrations or darsanas, six became so prominent and so powerful that in time every Hindu thinker who acknowledged the authority of the Brahmans attached himself to one or another of these schools. These are six Brahmanical schools that make certain assumptions which are the basis of Hindu thought. First, that the Vedas are inspired, that reasoning is less reliable as a guide to reality and truth than the direct perception and feeling of an individual properly prepared for spiritual receptiveness and subtlety by ascetic practices and years of obedient tutelage. The third thing, that the purpose of knowledge and philosophy is not control of the world so much as release from it, as distancing from it, and that the goal of thought is to find freedom from the suffering of frustrated desire by achieving freedom from desire itself. These are the philosophies to which men come when they are tired of ambition, of greed, of struggle, of wealth, progress, and success.